Welcome back to Christmas Light Installer University. This is a bonus session. Holy crap, I got a huge opportunity. What do I do next? As you can see, today I'm wearing the Christmas Light Guy t-shirt because I'm here with my guest, Brandon Anthony, who is the owner of Christmas Light Guy. Now, Brandon has done some of the biggest jobs down here in Texas, and we just wanted to discover, what do you do whenever you get a huge opportunity?
I spend a lot of time planning all my projects. I make sure that they're coordinated well. I have to pay attention and watch traffic flows through commercial properties. I have to make sure that I have to see where we're going to start each night, because some restaurants stay open late, clothing stores close early, so we start in those areas to make sure that we're not an inconvenience to the clients.
So you got to work around a lot of schedules, and so are you restricted to only work a certain time of the day or what?
Basically, when you get the larger contracts, you're going to be working in the middle of the night, probably from 10 o'clock until 7 o'clock in the morning. So
okay, so if you're not a night owl, or you're not willing to do what it takes to make the big contracts happy,
stay at home with the kids.
Stay at home with the kids. So what about structuring your crew and all that sort of thing? I mean, it's obviously different than the small crew for residential guys.
Absolutely. You want to make sure that the crew that you have is well trained, so I spend a lot of time working with each crew member to make sure that they're doing the job correctly. A few things that you have to watch out for is in the middle of the night, people tend to get a little tired, so you don't make sure that they don't cut corners and get lazy.
Yeah.
So it's a very good idea for either a general manager, and if you can't afford a general manager, you want to be on site in person and make sure that everything's going accordingly.
So I'm guessing your Starbucks bill kind of went up.
That's the other thing. I schedule my installations around business hours with Starbucks. I make sure that we start the installations right before they close, and then just to get home, sometimes I need a fresh Starbucks.
All right. Now, tell me what you generally require of a large company to have for power-wise. Is it like you show up and they don't have any power, you just walk away, or how would you handle it if there was absolutely no power and they wanted the whole world lit up?
The first thing we start doing is I have to, if there's no power, you can't do the installation. It's just everything. In the beginning, when you do small contracts, you put out so much material and you're concerned about your material expenses. But when you start getting larger contracts, you want to be concerned about the materials. But when you cut back on a large job, it's not because of materials on large contracts, it's because of power. So power is a huge issue, and that needs to be addressed in the very beginning, and it needs to be in writing. That's important.
Yeah, that you do a walkthrough and know exactly what kind of power issues you're dealing with.
Right.
Here's a question that I've already had in my email inbox this morning, is when do you stop working with a ladder and go to a boom? Do you use a boom lift? I mean, what dictates I need a boom lift today? When
it seems that your installers are reaching, if they're at the top and they're reaching on a ladder, then it's time to get a boom. Also, if it seems like it would be a more efficient use of your time to rent a boom, so you could maneuver around the tree, around the arbors, the canopies, then you might want to get a boom there. Sometimes it's just not feasible to get a ladder, and you need a long-reaching boom to reach even buildings.
Yeah, and what's a boom going to cost you? Would you rather rent it for a week on a big job, or a couple of weeks, or what's the cost breakdown on rentals on huge equipment like that?
Well, there's several different types of boom lifts. There's tow behinds, which you can just hook to a 1.5-inch ball, I believe. You have to have trailer brakes for some of them you don't. Then there's the self-propelled gas or diesel man lifts, and those generally have to be brought out by a flatbed trailer and a large tractor puller. But typically I like the tow behinds, and then in that case I would keep those for about a month because it's cheaper to rent them by the month.
Yeah, of course it all depends on how much work you got scheduled for the week and all that kind of stuff. Right. But when you rent it for the month, it's a much less expense, because I'm sure 1 week is one price, 1 month is much less.
It's almost as if you buy 3 weeks, you get one free.
Okay.
So.
Alrighty. Let's see. What else do we have concerns? How do you talk to your customers if they're say like I got a huge contract and I got a small city residential contract. I mean, or a small even house, a homeowner. How do you treat these people? What different things do you do, if anything?
I treat all my clients like they're number one. I treat them while I'm at their place of residence or their place of business. I make sure that I take care of every need. I go above and beyond what I tell them I'll do. I don't cut corners. If it's not right, and there's a lot of times when I'm in a hurry, I feel like, oh, nobody will notice. It's on the back of the tree. We go back and we fix the lights. If it needs to be redone, we do it. So one thing I noticed about working the midnight shifts would be the toll it takes on even your good guys. And what will happen is you'll notice like some of the guys will be able to power their way through it, but some people do not do well with.
They need a little motivator.
They get so tired that they're sleep deprived, and it's unhealthy. And in the past, I was very disappointed with some of my best guys and let them go. And
have you actually fired them?
I fired them because they weren't performing like they should be. And what I realized later on, after I got some sleep and realized that I was tired too, that they weren't hitting on all 8 cylinders because I pushed them so hard.
So what kind of hours are we talking about?
We're talking about 16 hours a day.
Pulling 16 hours a day in the cold.
At least. Sometimes if I'm at a deadline and I need the contract to be, I need to get the job done, we've pulled 35-hour shifts in a row.
35-hour shifts. That's definitely something that you can't do very productively.
Correct.
Especially toward the end of it.
And 1 or 2 days off is not going to clear that up for some people. I mean, they need, for example, I work this many hours. Even when I go home, I'm still scheduling and planning. There's only so many hours in the day, and there's only so much time to do Christmas lights. So you want to maximize every opportunity that you can. So I don't get any sleep, and it actually takes a toll on my marriage every year. And we're starting to get adjusted to it because I realize I'm brain dead from January to February. I mean, from January
on your time off after the season's over. 2 months.
I take off 2 months, and that's not true for everybody. I'm just a little slow to recover because I push it too hard. But that's one of the reasons I cram more work in. But
and that's why you're in such high demand.
Right.
Just because people know that you can meet a deadline.
Correct.
And that's a real important thing for a lot of commercial guys out there. Commercial is like, what'd you say, 85% of some of their sales right during that holiday season. All those holiday shoppers are really spending money. So they're really counting on you to meet their deadlines, to make sure everything's running. Let's talk, I mean, okay, we'll get back to this in a second, but what I want to know is right now is, what do you do to take care of your guys? And what do you do to take care of the way your family, of course you're pulling all these hours. What kind of a toll does that pull on you guys?
Well, obviously I'm gone all the time, and I personally have 5 children, so they miss their dad, and when I come home, I'm useless to them. I try to get home before the sun comes up sometimes, and I'll sleep until my phone starts ringing and wakes me up. But when January rolls around, I am all about the family. I stay home.
And you got young kids.
I have young kids.
These are like, I mean, your youngest is what? Is he
2 years old?
2 years old. And your oldest?
12.
12 years old. So, I mean, a lot of kids that really should demand a lot of your time, and rightfully so. I mean, they need daddy to come home and...
So I spend time, I take my wife out to dinner, and I take her shopping. I spend time with her, quality time. And quality time with your family stems from quantity time. So you want to make sure that you spend lots of time with them. I mean, they suffer from being away from you, just like you suffer from being away from them and working all the time. So you need to make sure that you take care of the family, because without the family, you're working in vain. So,
and this is not just November, December. I mean, right now, this is August. This is August in Texas, and we start early.
Right.
We start installing early.
And one thing you want to do is start training your customers every year to start earlier and earlier, because
you can only fit so many people.
Right. The earlier you start, the more money you make, and that's just it's a mathematical problem.
What all of my guys just said to me is, "Holy moly! I can't believe they're installing in August." What kind of a customer will let you install in August?
We're not only installing; we're booked solid through the whole Christmas light season, and it didn't happen overnight.
It's because people recognize that you're gonna do it right, and you're gonna stand behind your product.
Right. So they will allow me to squeeze them in a little early to make sure that I can spend more time with them. I'm not in such a rush. And
it's being in demand. That's what you want. You want to be able to make Christmas installer money for more time. And the only way to do it is more days in the season.
And the way you get that is through integrity, working hard, and doing what you say you're going to do. That is so important. And back to taking care of your guys with being sleep deprived, you need to make sure that you take good care of your guys. I serve my guys. They're working hard for me. They're the ones doing the work.
I saw you guys are eating well earlier.
Yes, we have fajitas. I'm not telling everyone to have fajitas, but I'm saying
I think everybody should have fajitas.
Everybody should have fajitas.
Fajitas are the bomb.
That's what you have.
That's the only kind of food you should have.
That's good stuff. But we like at 2 o'clock in the morning, I bring snacks. I bring food. I make sure the guys are well fed. And a lot of people are like, I'm not spending that kind of money on my guys. But you don't drive your car without gas. You can't work your guys without fuel. You got to feed your guys. You got to make sure they have the tools to do the job
mentally and physically.
Right.
You got to let them know that you got their back and that you value them.
Right.
And that's feeding them fajitas in Texas.
And the other thing is they will not watch out for themselves. You have to watch out for them. If you see that they're getting too tired, cut them off, send them home, let them rest. Do it in a pleasant way to make them understand that you care about their personal well-being and you want to make sure that they return to work safely. And
the younger they are, the younger they are, the more they'll reach and the more they'll go for it. And you want to just, be the older, wiser guy if you are the older, wiser guy, but just stop the dangerous acts. I got some guys that'll scale a house when there's a ladder on the truck. Just slow them down. They don't need to make those extra risks.
And it seems in the beginning when you're starting that the faster we go, the more money we're going to make, and that is true, but you don't want to end up in the hospital. Very experienced people fall off roofs all the time. God forbid it happened to any of us, and it's almost like a brother's falling when somebody falls off. I mean, we all feel it because we've all been on those houses.
Yeah. But, always using the spotter, always making sure you've got the sleep you need. Don't go up there if it's raining, pouring. You don't want to be on a roof with some composite shingles where you're just going to slide right off.
I've got another thing. When you're doing the larger commercial projects, it's very tempting to speed things along by climbing in the trees and actually doing the work and getting hands-on involved, and that's just the way I've grown my business. However, it is better for you to be on the ground and make sure that everybody's supplied with the materials they need, make sure that they're not running out and anticipating what they need. Just
if you're going down a commercial project and your guys are spacing their lights wrong, you could be 5, 10, 20 trees short depending on how big your project is.
Correct. That's very correct. And it's just you want to just keep an eye on things and watch your guys' backs and make sure that they're not going to run out of materials, make sure they're not going to do something dangerous that they're not watching. It's better to be on the ground, and then you can run your business and see the whole big picture and see how things are progressing and make decisions like that.
Yeah, I saw that you guys were working one time just outside of I don't know if it was a cantina, coffee shop or something, but they were just doing their normal work, but little did you know, on the ground, it was an incredible mess, and that place was about to open. You came along, the guys were working great. You had to stop what they were doing, because leaves were just blowing everywhere and the whole patio was covered in leaves and the store is about to open. So
that's another thing.
Had you been up on a tree working on the other side of the mall, you would have been he would have been cussed up and down by that business owner.
And that's the other thing is just work with integrity, work with class, and leave the place cleaner than you found it. Make the people happy. Make them
a servant. Be a servant. I think you told me that one time.
And just always leave it better than you found it. Just like you don't want any traces other than your beautiful work on that property. You don't want clips. You don't want trash. I make my guys clean up. I make them clean up everything. And if there's a beer bottle between our trees on commercial jobs, they pick it up. If there's any trash in the flower beds, I don't want any doubt. I want to make sure that is not our trash. And they may never notice. They may not notice that you picked up all the trash, but they will surely notice it if there's trash and you just worked there.
Yeah, and you just walked right past it.
Right.
Because they expect you to do your job and it to be better when you left. And one thing I do like, I appreciate, he's got a lot of workers, and if one of them shows up without their red shirt on, he sends them home, or they go and they come back with their shirt on, because the uniformity out there, the customers appreciate it. It's professional. I don't know anything worse than having a bunch of guys running around with cut off short, well, not cut off shorts, but like holes in your jeans, and everybody's wearing a different color. It's just not uniform.
It just, you don't want to look like you just scrounged up your guys. You want to make them like as clean as possible. And these guys are working in the trees. They're going to have sap all over them. They're going to be sweaty and dirty. But if they have a shirt, at least a shirt on, it shows that they work for you, and people feel a little bit more at ease with some of the guys.
Mm-hmm.
I have guys that don't necessarily look as clean cut as I'd like them to, but they do beautiful work. And if they show up in their personal clothes, they're not as impressive. They may be intimidating, but when they dress in a uniform, it really
cleans them up.
It cleans them up quite a bit.
It cleans them up. Yeah. So, and your guys are very professional, by the way, very polite. Everybody that works for Brandon, I can't say enough about the impression he leaves on his customers. The customers that visit the stores are always asking for business cards and stuff. Mm-hmm. So, and you won't turn down work. So, well, okay, let's let you expand on that.
I will turn down work if the electrical service is not going to work out. You asked me about that earlier. And the reason is I actually spent, my integrity gets me in trouble. I was on top of roofs longer than I should, and it wasn't my problem trying to solve their electrical problems, which not even the best electrician could have solved these problems. But mm-hmm. I ended up losing money, and my reputation was at stake, and I could not pull it out, even as hard as I worked, because their electricity was just not up to standard.
You're only responsible from the outlets to the tree, okay, and the whole tree. But once you get, I mean, if there's no outlets, hey, what can you do?
What can you do?
If there's no outlets.
That's why it's important to discuss those things before you get into the contract with these people.
Yeah.
Because they know that the electrical is shoddy or just not up to standard, but they're hoping that
you can pull it off.
You can pull it off, and you're going to pull it off cheap, and you're going to say, "Hey, I'm your guy." You're going to get out there, and you're going to fail just like the guy did last year before you.
And then you're going to look unprofessional.
And then you won't ever do business with that company again, because they're going to throw you under the bus.
They will throw you under the bus, and they know, even if they're not the biggest paying customers, they might be able to refer you to the next guy who could just make your day. You know,
referrals.
But if they don't provide what they're supposed to up front, there's nothing you can do, and you won't get that next referral.
That's why it's important to be thorough. There's so many things that you're learning so fast. Mm-hmm. That's why Tanner's program is very helpful to guys starting off, because it'll help you with some of the small details that you need to know. So you're not focused on the small details. You can focus on things like electrical, and you can actually spend more time looking around, and you're not so bombarded with all the new information.
The learning curve, and I think, is an important issue.
And here's a wise saying: never despise the days of small beginnings. Start small, work hard, do a good job, and it will come.
Yeah.
If you do a good job, if
you do a good job, a great job, you'll grow fast, and you'll be provided the people that it'll help you grow fast, because they'll see the talent.
And it'll be solid work. And I try to do a job like this. While I'm doing the job, I'm thinking about this job this year right now. Mm-hmm. But I'm also thinking, whatever I do now affects my next year. Mm-hmm. If I mess up and I slack on this job, it's going to cost me on the next job next year. So I want there to be no doubt next year who's going to get this contract.
That's right. Now let's talk, we won't say names and places of your clients, but let's say, I know you had one huge contract last year, and you did the best job I've ever seen at this place. Now, tell me real quick what happened with the referrals that came out of that.
The referrals
I mean, by the way, when I say big contract, I mean, give us a ballpark. I mean, within 30,000.
No, I can say it was
big.
It was trees wrapped to the tips, and there was over 110 trees, and they were mature trees, and it
was a big job.
It was a big job.
Okay, now you pleased that client above and beyond what he'd ever had before.
Right.
I mean, you had guys walking the street at night, making sure all the trees were there and it's very highly traffic area, okay? High traffic, a lot of volume, a lot of shopping going on. So the owner of that was so impressed with you. Let's hear it.
Well, they had a sister property that was just as big, and they gave it to me this year. And then they also referred me to a larger contract client that's very impressive. It's a larger property.
Even larger.
It's a larger project.
Okay, so here's the point. You do a great job. You go all out. You do a great job on every job. Even, I mean, this was a big contract to begin with, but you got 2 other contracts out of it this year. You got the returning client. You got the returning client's sister property,
Right.
which is as big or bigger.
Right.
And then his buddy the baller.
Yeah. And yeah.
So just doing a good job.
Back to,
it's
like,
been blessing your socks off.
It's been blessing my socks off. And the other thing is, I felt like with the first big job I got, it was by far the largest. And the clients kept asking me, "Can you do it?" And I knew I could. I don't know how I knew, but I knew that I could do it. But they didn't believe in me. But I felt like like a dog chasing a car. And one day I finally caught the car, and then I was like, "What do I do now?" And I've said that over and over again. And what I did now is I took it piece by piece and I tore into it, and I did the job. I mean, and like even with these larger contracts, if you don't feel a little intimidated by them, then you're nuts. I mean, because they're overwhelming, and if it wasn't difficult, then anybody could do it.
Mm-hmm. But the difference between what you do and what the normal guy does, and we got I told you it was August. We got what are these things called?
Locusts.
Locusts going nuts. If you hear us, I hope you do, because we hear a lot of them. But what the typical guy does, we'll go out and look at, if they get a request for a huge job, they'll go, "Holy crud, this is over my head." But you have the ability to break down a job into chunks. And you're like, "I can do that part. Okay, this is a whole different part over here. I can do that." So he'll take a whole big job, and you'll turn it into a dozen smaller jobs that are very easy to operate and to install. And so the big thing you got to do is don't look at the big picture.
Do not look at the big picture.
Yeah.
It will freak you out. It freaks me out. The job we're actually at, I was driving around with the client, and I looked over at her when I looked at the big job, at the big picture, just a few weeks ago, and I said, "What? I did it last year, so I know that I can do it." And I said, "What am I thinking? This is huge." And you know what? It's tree by tree. It's tree by tree.
One tree at a time.
But you can get in over your head. You want it. That's why I said just like start small and earn it, because otherwise,
if you go bid a big commercial job where they're wrapping the trees out to the tips, and that's your first tree, then you're in over your head.
Right. And you don't know, like you could really lose your tail on a big job. I mean, it's just, if you look at it, like if you're spending $15 or $20 on an extension cord, and you need like 3 per tree, and you have 120 to 150 trees, and you mess up the count on that, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in trouble.
You could be off by a few thousand, to say the least.
Right, and you could be off by 4,000 lights or something.
Miscount your mini lights by 30 per tree.
So you want to make sure that you have a good knowledge base, and you want to have a good...
some experience is needed.
Yes. But even with experience...
You can screw up.
You can screw up, but it's still going to be intimidating, and just, you can let fear deter you, or you can let it motivate you and push you further. And when I get afraid, I start doing more research, and I start pushing a little closer and doing my homework a little bit. And that's what you should do. Fear's not a bad thing. It's a great thing. If like when I feel fear, that means I'm getting into something that's going to be big. And I like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If it was easy, everybody would do it. If it was easy, everybody would do it. And then if you had everybody bidding those big projects, then of course they'd have a lot to sift through.
Well, the other thing is I'm glad that everybody can't do it, because I can, and it hurts to do these jobs. It's glorious at the end, but it's painful during the process. It's hard to leave your wife in the middle of the night. It's hard to get up when your kids are going to bed and go out and start working. I mean, if you're the business owner, you're going to be working all day long, and then after you're done working, you go home. After you sell all day long, you're going to change clothes and then go out to the job site. And the next day, hope you can do math when you're bidding more jobs. So it's great. So, I mean, I started off, maybe doing 30 houses my first year, and I was pretty stoked about that. And then now it's developed into, I don't even really want to mess with residential that much, because I can put guys on larger commercial jobs. But it's not all about me. If I do just commercial jobs, I can be finished with my season by November, like the middle of November. But then my guys that worked so hard for me to do these great, beautiful projects, then they're without work. So I always do residential just to keep them busy so they can provide food and shelter for their family. Because, we're not blessed to
hoard our money.
Hoard it. We're blessed to be a blessing. So it's great to help others because they have families. And if you know what it's like to be hard up for cash or need work, then you'll understand if you don't go out and
if you don't share the love,
right? Then
if you don't share the love, then the love might not come to you.
Right. That's for sure.
So and all of our workers, you're with them for so many hours, and they're providing for your family. They almost become family right there.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, you want to make sure you provide for.
You want to
guys.
make sure that there's a closeness there, but you want to make sure that there's a respect that they're gonna. You don't want to be so close to them that they cut up with you. You want to make sure the bigger the job, you need to separate yourself a little bit so that when you say something, they take you serious and they're
not
execute
taking
your
shortcuts
orders.
and all that kind of good stuff.
Right. The bigger the job, the more organized and more structured it needs to be, and less horseplay. There's a time and place for everything, and big jobs is not a time. You don't want to risk your future. A big job can really change the course of your life. Just to be honest with you, a big contract can really change your standard of living. So you don't want to risk anything by horseplay and messing around and getting too close to your employees to where they don't respect you.
Yeah, there are tons of jobs out there that are $100,000 for one client, and so $100,000 job that can change the way you live your life. So
right,
you got to really, when you get opportunities like that, holy crap opportunities, you want to make sure you do everything right. What is the initial interview like? What do you go into this
stressful.
guy?
It is so stressful.
Your sweaty palms.
It doesn't matter.
I'm Miss. Let's do a role play here.
Okay.
I'm Miss Martha. I just called in requests from 3 companies, and this is your first interview. Hello, Mr. Christmas light guy. Can I help you with something?
I want this job. No, I just introduce myself, and the most important thing I do when I'm talking to clients is I be me. I am me everywhere I go. When I'm selling, when I'm talking to my friends,
I would be a nervous wreck. So you're saying?
Oh yeah, you can be a nervous wreck, but be you as a nervous wreck. You know? And the way I do it is I just talk to people like they're real people. I don't go in there trying to sell stuff. I'm a horrible salesperson. I'm a great people person. So I use that gift.
We're back to treat everybody exactly like they're a small business or big business.
It's the golden rule.
Treat everybody the same, no matter how big the contract. That just blows my mind.
No, it's treat others how you want to be treated. My wife absolutely hates sales guy. How did I get her?
You're a sales guy.
I'm a sales guy. So I turned off the sales approach, and I just started. It's hard to turn off the sales gimmicks and stuff, but what I did was I learned from my wife that you can't
sell her.
You can't sell her.
Too slick.
When you go in to talk to these people who this ain't their first rodeo, and they've talked to so many contracts that sit in the same seat you're sitting in, and they're like,
and the salesman comes in,
their alarms go off, and they put their arms up. So all I do, and what I've learned over the years, is just be me, relax, and just talk to them about the work. I talk to them about things you talk about with humans. I talk about like my family. I talk about who I am.
You let them know who they're buying from.
Right, they're not buying from
a salesman.
Like you are what separates you from everybody else.
So you're not selling your company. You're not selling you're selling yourself.
I'm selling my company, but I represent my company, and I do sell myself. I do, because I'm the owner and I'm on site, and
you're who they're doing business with.
And you don't want to fill them full of like I can do this, I can do that. You want to let them know that you're confident in your abilities to handle the job, and that you're going to do what you say you're going to do. And the greatest thing is when you start small and build your way up is you're going to have, they may not be huge referrals, but they're going to be great referrals. And you want to make sure that people are singing your praises when they call and check on you. So, and the only way you're going to do that is through integrity. But with that confidence backing me, then I can go in and be myself and relax.
Yeah.
So the other thing I would do is I would start asking them questions about the job. And just
see what their vision is.
Right.
Make sure you're on the same page.
If you're coming in after another contractor who's already done the job, you may
distance yourself from his mistakes or something like that.
Well, just ask him what were the problems that you had last year, and you can asking questions and not talking. Like if you ask questions instead of making statements, you can make them feel better about you, and you get most people will tell you whatever you ask them. I ask them everything.
So you just listen.
I ask and I listen.
You listen, just like you would talk to a woman. Let her talk about herself. Let her talk about what she wants. And at the end of it, she feels like you're the greatest guy. Is that what you're saying? Or am I way off?
I don't know. I hope your wife doesn't watch this.
Yeah, I'm not the best ladies' man, I guess.
Well, anyway.
Oh, yeah. Good, funny stuff.
Was there anything else you'd like to ask?
Heck, I don't know. Did you guys get a lot out of that? I hope so. This is going to be our last session, our last bonus session with Brandon and Anthony. Thanks for coming out, Brandon.
Hey, no problem.
Actually,
Thank you.
I came out. This is your place here, and I love it. So,
I'm glad you
adios.
enjoyed it. Thanks.
Christmas Light Installer University. Adios, y'all.